All right, this is the video tutorial for test 1.2 on inequalities. So quick review of the different symbols that we use. Less than points to the left, which has an L just like less than, and greater than, which ends in an R, points to the right as well. And if we're allowing equal to, then we're going to put these little symbols here as well. And what that means for when we're graphing is if we have something that doesn't have an equal sign, like this top one, we're going to use an open circle. And if it does have an equal sign, then we're going to use the closed circle. And obviously the direction of the arrow determines the direction of the line that you're going to use as well. All right, let's take a little look then at what we're going to be doing here. So we're obviously just going to be doing the first part of this for this video. We're going to be reviewing the test, and then in the lesson itself, you'll actually take the test. So let's have a look, something nice and easy to start with. A number. So although it says number, remember that actually means variable. So we're going to represent that by x, or I am for this question anyway. Subtract 12, well, they all say subtract 12, so that's not very helpful, is greater than 16. So greater than, once again, that ends in an R. So I'm looking for the one that points to the right. And it's not this one here because that has the equal sign on it. And this one just says is greater than. So it could be any sort of variation on that. Might say greater than or equal to, possibly. Might not say subtract. And it certainly probably won't use the numbers 12 and 16 when you do a similar question. Okay, and just so you can see the answers as well, I put those on the next slide for each time. Solve the inequality 10 minus 4x is greater than or equal to 18. Now, it's really difficult to use the sketchpad to write on here, so I'm going to go straight to the next slide. So what I'm trying to do is, remember, I'm trying to get x's on one side, numbers on the other side. So my first thing I want to move is this 10. So the opposite of 10 is negative 10, because this is a positive 10. Take away 10 from both sides, that cancels. 18 take away 10 is 8. And then don't forget to include this negative sign as well. If you're just looking quickly, you'll see the 4x. You need to bring the whole thing down, which is negative 4x. And then on the last step, instead of timesing by negative 4, I divide by negative 4. And then that's where that special rule comes in from middle school. Whenever we multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality flips. So it's less than or equal to in the question, but for my final answer, it's going to be greater than or equal to. Then it says you have to graph this on the number line as well. So we're going to start from negative 2. I'm going to use a closed circle because it's got this equal sign. And as it points to the right, I'm going to go to the right as well. And if I remember correctly, this is actually going to be a 2-point question. Whatever answer you get to this question, well, assuming you have the right answer, it's worth 1 point. But even if you have the answer wrong, as long as you can graph what your answer is, you can get a second point. So it's not 0 or 2. You do have a chance to get half credit if you just make one mistake. And then for question 3, same thing. This is really difficult to write on here, so I already rewrote this ahead of time. So for this one, parentheses first, always PEMDAS, distribute 2 times 2v is 4v, 2 times 5 is 10. And remember, you can use a calculator if necessary as well while you're doing this as well. And then I'm going to bring all my letters to one side. So I personally like to bring my letters to the left. So I'm going to take away 4v from both sides. That cancels. 8 take away 4 is 4. Bring down the plus 22. Bring down the positive 10, which I can just put as 10 now because that means positive 10. As I got my letters here, let's bring numbers to the other side. So instead of adding 22, I want to subtract 22, which gives me negative 12. And this time I'm divided by 4. And negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. But I kept the inequality the same direction. A lot of people only half remember the rule, and they say, oh, look, there's a negative here, so I need to flip the inequality. So we actually just divided by 4. Only if you divide by a negative number do you need to flip the inequality. So this one would stay the same. Greater than negative 3, that would be an open circle because there's no equal sign. And to the right, because this inequality is pointed to the right as well. And another question with the distributive rule here. So once again, I'm going to skip to my answer. 4 times y is 4y. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And when we're combining these terms, once again, we don't need to do the opposite because these are already on the same side of the equal sign. If I want to move this 8y across to this side, then yeah, I definitely need to do the opposite. But as these are on the left-hand side of the inequality, I'm just combining like terms. So 2y plus 4y is 6y. Bring down the negative 12, and then bring down those other 2 terms. Me personally, I'm going to collect my letters on the left. So I'm going to subtract 8y from both sides. That will cancel, leaving just negative 8. 6 take away 8 is negative 2. And then I've got to bring down this negative 12 as well. As I got letters on this side now, I want to bring numbers to this side. So instead of subtracting 12, I'm going to add 12 to both sides. And negative 8 plus 12 is 4. And once again, I'm going to divide by -2 because it's -2 times y. Divide both sides by -2, giving me -2. And then once again, I'm going to flip the inequality on this question because I just divided by a negative number. Notice if you forget to flip that inequality, that answer is there waiting for you. So it is really important that you think about that while you're doing this test. On question 5, we have another distributive rule. This time we're not graphing, we're just solving this one. And we got a leading negative though. So we got to be very careful as we're doing this one. So it's not 2 times all these things. It's -2 times each of these terms. So -2 times t, just put them in right order. Numbers first, letters second, -2t. -2 times 8, use your calculator if necessary, -16. And this time, just to make it clearer, I put boxes around this. So I'm going to combine these terms. I'm not doing opposites because they're on the left-hand side. I'm just combining like terms. 6 take away 16 is -10. And then -2t, I'm going to bring down. And -18, I'm going to bring down. As I got my letters on the left, I now want to bring numbers to the right. So the opposite of -10 is +10, giving me -8. And then once again, that last step, so instead of times in by -2, I'm going to divide by -2, giving me +4. But as I divided by a negative number, it's really important that I don't forget to flip the inequality on this question here. And once again, if you forget to divide, you are going to see that wrong answer here as well. So that's going to be true for most of those questions. So remember, we're not flipping it for every question. We saw questions where we didn't need to do that. But if you're dividing by a negative number, you certainly do need to do that one. Which graph shows the solution to this inequality? And actually, we got 6 different answers here. So the easiest way is going to be just to solve this and then think about what we would actually draw. So I have it on the next step here. So on the next slide. So the first thing we would do is we would definitely want to get rid of this fraction. So the line on the fraction means divide. So the opposite of dividing by 5 is to times by 5. And -2 times 5 is -10. Now, if this would have been a negative number, remember when you multiply by a negative number, the inequality flips as well. So this is just positive though, so we don't need to flip this inequality. Instead of subtracting 16, I'm going to add 16 to both sides, giving me 6, and then divide both sides by 3, giving us 2. As I divided by +3, I do not need to flip this inequality. So I'm looking for something that starts at 2, goes to the right, and has a closed circle. And I think that looks like answer C as far as I can tell on this picture. And I have it confirmed on this slide just so you could see. And there's just 6 questions actually on the test for inequalities. Quite a few questions with those negatives though. We've got to be aware, make sure we flip the inequalities. You obviously got to have a good understanding of how to graph at the end of questions as well. We saw we had to do that at least on 3 questions as well. And also a good understanding of vocabulary words as well, depending on what would actually come up on the test. That will do it for this video though. And you'll find out what, after people have finished the test review, they would take the test. So if you're absent, you will obviously do that when you return to school.